Yo, coming anniversary party, I'm doing it with Playboy Cardi. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Game Sketch. Today and only today, we are here to talk about Sonic Anniversaries, right? A series that is about to celebrate its 35th anniversary next year. So I figured we would look back at all the other celebration anniversaries that they've done, you know, what they've done with the logo, releases, and everything. Look back and talk about the best and the worst of it, and maybe predict what's gonna come next year. And of course, if you guys notice, we have a wide camera lens for a bit more space when I do these discussion videos. So if you guys like it, please make sure to subscribe to your boy, support the content, and let me know what you guys think. Guys, we are so close to 70K. All right, we are at 7K. I want y'all to keep supporting. You guys have been doing crazy work, so thank you for it. Let's get to 70K, into 100K, into a billion K, whatever number we need. All right, I love you guys, and let's get right into it. All right, so let's start with the first time Sega celebrated Sonic's anniversary, and that is with the 10th anniversary of the series, right? They didn't really do a 5-year anniversary from what I saw, and obviously the series debuted in 1991 with a lot of success. But we actually have a list here from shout out to the Sonic Wiki Zone that lists exactly everything they did to celebrate. So let's talk about games, right? What did they release on the 10th anniversary? Well, not only is this the 10th anniversary, but they released probably one of their most important games in the entire franchise, and that is Sonic Adventure 2. That's right, in the beautiful year of 2001, 10 years after the original Sonic game, they released Sonic Adventure 2. And I mean, how much more of an anniversary does it get to than that? Honestly, what's funny about the game is it feels like an anniversary title, right? It was apparently going to be one of the last Sonic stories. I don't believe that. They kind of say that, but I don't think that's true. They also released Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which is the HD port of it. I mean, how does it get bigger than the release of Sonic Adventure 2? One of the most popular Sonic games to this day, one of the most influential games to this day. I mean, you got Shadow the Hedgehog in this game, you got Rouge in this game, right? You got, you know, playable Eggman in this, you got playable Tails, you got playable Knuckles, Sonic. It felt like the whole gang was here celebrating this anniversary, and so that's what makes this game so special. Obviously, Sonic Adventure 2, we could gush all day about how much we like it, but I mean, for an anniversary title, that's almost as good as it gets, right? And of course, you had the Sonic Adventure 2 Battle release, which again was, if you want to talk about in terms of an anniversary, still a pretty big deal, because obviously, you know, you're starting to see Sonic games released on other hardware. People forget, I think a lot of people don't know that Sonic Adventure 2 was released on the Dreamcast. A lot of people, I feel like, just think it was on the GameCube and PS2 and stuff, but no, it was originally on the Dreamcast. I believe they came out the same year, but it just came out later in the year. And, you know, the Battle port added, you know, literally the battle mode and a few extra features. I know some people argue which version is better than the other, but alas, I would say for an anniversary, I feel like Sonic Adventure 2 is as good as it gets, right? But that wasn't the only game we had released for the anniversary of Sonic. We had the release of Sonic Advance, right? Boom, that is the first, I guess this is technically the first Nintendo exclusive Sonic game, right? Obviously, Nintendo didn't publish it, but it was one of the only Sonic games ever available on a Nintendo platform, and boom, I mean, Sonic Advance to this day, while maybe not the most popular in the series, it reviewed well on Metacritic when we did our look back at Metacritic scores. And not just that, it's a game that to this day people think about super fondly, right? Obviously, the sprite work is incredible. That's still used to this day. The level design was really good. You had multiple playable characters, right? It was really like an important game in this series. I still wish Shadow had somehow made it into the game, kind of like he's in that Flash game. What's that game? Super Flash Sonic or whatever that everybody used to play on browsers. I still think Advance's influence is so huge. I mean, I actually wonder how many people play the Sonic Flash game that took the levels from this over the original release of Sonic Advance. But alas, I would say that Sonic Advance is a pretty notable release alongside Sonic Adventure 2. The only other game release for this anniversary is this 2001 mobile game called Sonic the Hedgehog. It's like 2001. It's called like 2001 Sonic Cafe, and it's like this little mobile game with a few little like mini games, intricates. It's really hard to get footage of it, but it's just a really small random mobile game they released. I mean, cool, I guess. In terms of other stuff, it wasn't too crazy in this time. I mean, I will say, right, if we're just talking about the anniversary, the logo, right, the 10th anniversary logo it's pretty nice, right? You've got the ring, you know, you've got the little tent in the middle. It's nice to see that they, you know, keep Sonic's color scheme in there. Obviously, you can tell, you know, we're in early anniversary era where like the logo stuff isn't too crazy, but it's fun. Also, this is a small thing, but one of my favorite things about this anniversary is Yui Kawa actually did an animated Sonic that they did for the 10th anniversary over here. I'm sure the editor is gonna give it to you in HD. But yeah, there was like this little animated logo Yui Kawa, the artist, did for the Dreamcast release of Sonic Adventure 2, where like Sonic actually does like a little cool pose, you know, that's actually gonna be used in the thumbnail. But yeah, that's the other notable thing that came out. We also got one Archie comic. I think it was like Archie comic 94, and like, look at the art of it, I guess. I mean, it's kind of terrifying, but yay, 10 years of Sonic. And then there was some merchandise. You have the Sonic the Hedgehog birthday pack, which actually, funny enough, I actually own this right here. This is right here. It is a special edition release of Sonic Adventure 2. It has like a premium coin in it. It's got the good back in front of it. I can't really show it properly, but yeah, so they had that, which I think is a pretty cool release. You had a little Sonic figure. You have a Sonic 10th anniversary wine glass. If you know, you're an alcoholic and you like Sonic, you have a 10th anniversary Sonic Zippo lighter. Who doesn't want a Sonic Zippo lighter? And you've got Sonic Adventure 2 plush toys by SEGA Prize. So yeah, I mean, overall, kind of a lackluster anniversary in terms of merchandise and other stuff, but obviously, again, like Sonic Adventure 2 is the anniversary. Sonic Advance is the anniversary. So overall, I mean, pretty solid time, you know, for a 10-year. It's not too much, because I feel like that's what a lot of companies do by accident, is I feel like they do way too much on these anniversaries and blow their load, and they go crazy, and sometimes it's lackluster, and you can tell they just want to release stuff to release stuff. But it did feel like there was a bit of a quality control. There could have been some better merch at the time, but hey, Sonic Adventure 2. All right, boom. Now we have moved 5 years forward, right, to the Sonic 15th anniversary. First, let's talk about the logo. I actually really like what they did with the logo here, right? You have the ring in the back with the little anniversary on the band for the 15th, right? You still have Sonic's color scheme. You have the quills like standing out of it. So really cool logo. It sticks to the spirit of, you know, keeping it simple, clean. You know it's celebrating Sonic. You have the Sonic the Hedgehog text. I almost should have liked if they removed the Sonic the Hedgehog text on the bottom and just had it say 15th with, like, you know, the blue quill silhouette in the anniversary, because I feel like you get the information you need for that. All right, and in 2006, we got quite a few releases. Obviously, notably, the anniversary game that shouldn't have been an anniversary game, and that is Sonic 06, my friends. I mean, we don't got to get into this. I feel like we all know the stance on 06. We all know what happened. Yeah, if anything, this is probably the textbook definition of what you shouldn't be doing for an anniversary, right? I feel like this is exactly what you shouldn't be doing, right? Which is rushing a game out for the holidays, for the anniversary. And that is Sonic 06. I mean, we all know the story of that game, but yeah, I mean, in terms of release, I mean, I guess we got Silver out of it, right? We got his world. You know, it's funny because you can tell that for an anniversary of the series, this game was ambitious. I mean, it was trying to essentially reboot the series. The game is just called Sonic the Hedgehog, which, you know, that's a statement, right? When you call something the name of the original, that is a statement you're making. That's telling me, all right, this is going back to, you know, to the start of it, right? If Nintendo released the new Smash called just Super Smash Bros., I'd be like, oh shit, okay, we're starting over, right? That is a statement to say something like that. And that's what they were trying to do, right? They were trying to bring the series back into a new life, move it forward, right? You know, obviously the past mattered here, but they want to take into a more serious story and everything. So you can tell for the anniversary, they were going with 15 years and changing things up. But obviously, they released something unfinished with a lot of ambition, empty promises, and a lot of pain. But on a brighter note, on the 50th anniversary, we also had the release of Sonic Riders, which, hey man, you want something that celebrates Sonic in the coolest way. That is the original Sonic Riders, which, while it wasn't met with the best reception, I think fans really love this game, and everybody agrees that the style of this game is amazing. And I still think this is one of the best ways to showcase Sonic and Friends' personality. And Riders was, you know, kind of a fair success. I think it sold like 1 million copies or something. I could be wrong on that, right? But it met some moderate success, but I feel like it met a lot of success with the fans. So while this isn't really necessarily a celebration game, I feel like it is the game that sort of brings a lot of the cast together, right? I mean, you have a game that has Tails playable, Sonic, Knuckles, I think Cream is playable, and then you got Walala in there, you got Eggman playable, you have new characters, right, with Jet the Hawk, and all that. Like, if you think about it, right, in 2006, they introduced a lot of characters to this series. I mean, you have Silver, right? You have Jet, you have Wave, and you have what's his name, Storm, right? So I feel like you have a decent array of new characters overall from the anniversary. But then you also have, for the anniversary, Sonic Rivals, which released on the PSP. Goddamn, 2006, they had like 3 major games, which is kind of crazy. And Sonic Rivals is, you know, the definition of an okay game, right? Like, you just kind of run. They kind of just want something to have out for the PSP at the time. And while I enjoy Sonic Rivals, I would never think of it as like, I would never associate Sonic Rivals with the anniversary of Sonic, right? It's not something that's too crazy, too enjoyable of a release. And, you know, I mean, it's Sonic Rivals. Who's ever going to think about that, right? So overall, when you think of the game output for the anniversary, the 50th anniversary, it was pretty mid. I mean, there's also, it says here that they released Sonic the Hedgehog on Genesis. On what platform? Is it the GBA? Is this the oh wait, no. That's the GBA port of Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, hell no. Never mind, guys. The GBA port of Sonic the Hedgehog is notoriously known to be dog shit. So I just feel like they weren't cooking too much this year. The best thing I could say about this year is probably Riders, right? And again, like I said, 06 is Ambition, but that doesn't help. So you can definitely tell there was a sense of like, let's rush things out for the anniversary for this. Now, in terms of merchandise, right, which is also a big part of anniversaries, nothing too crazy. There was a Sonic X trading card game that released, which is kind of notable because we actually don't have Sonic cards, which is shocking, right? You think with how popular card games are today that they'd have those. I think these Sonic X trading cards are really rare to get. They exist, but they're definitely super rare to find. I'd actually like to find one of those packs one day, but they released that. They did release a 50th anniversary statue by Toy Island, which, you know, cool, I guess, right? There was some Sonic X merchandise, and there was a novel called Battle at Ice Palace, which is like another like visual novel type thing, you know, released for Sonic X. Obviously, at this time, the Sonic X cartoon show was popping off on 4Kids, right? So they obviously want to have a lot of that kind of merch out there, because even the comic books, there was a Sonic X comic, right? I think it was number 6 to 15. And again, more Sonic comics, which, you know, those are going to be running forever. So nothing too crazy. It does say in the other /summary that there was Summer of Sonic. That was becoming a thing, which Summer of Sonic is cool. You know, it's just like an event. I think it's in London where they celebrate the series. So that's not bad. But yeah, that's really it for the 50th anniversary. So overall, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, they did release more than the 10th anniversary, because 10th anniversary, like we said, was Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Advance. But I feel like here there was a big quality control issue. I mean, the GBA port of Sonic 1 is notoriously bad. Rivals is mid. Sonic 06 was probably, if you know, you want to argue again, I know a lot of fans over the years have grown to like it, but that fucked Sonic's reputation heavy, bro. I'm talking about a game that genuinely, like, really messed up these series for a long time, and that's how it would be important for the 20th anniversary to lock in. All right, let's talk about Sonic's 20th anniversary, which is probably one of the bigger ones. You know, that's when we're starting to get into the modern era, right? At this point, we're 2011, you know, technology is better. They have more means to release more things and celebrate in more ways. But of course, let's start with the Sonic 20th anniversary logo, sort of ditching any sign of Sonic in it, which I actually don't like as much as the 50th anniversary logo. I think that one is still my favorite of these so far, but you know, it's basic, it's celebratory. You have the big 20 with the red, you have the Sonic in the background, and then you have the anniversary with the stars. Like, I think the packaging all around it is really good. But you know, if it were up to me, I would have removed the Sonic the Hedgehog text on the bottom, put the 20th on the bottom, and put maybe Sonic in the middle of it, because this one just feels too much like, hey, text. Of course, when it comes to Sonic 2011, the biggest form of celebration here was Sonic Generations. I mean, how much more of a celebration do you get than a game that is quite literally a celebration game? I mean, that's why this anniversary, the 20th one, is probably one of the most notable in the entire franchise, right? Because you have the release of Sonic Generations, which, you know, at the time was hailed to be probably the best Sonic game in forever, right? You have consistently very beautiful 3D boost levels, you know, you have 2D levels, and it really, like, that game really did everything to celebrate every Sonic fan, right? You have the 3D levels for people that want that, you had the 2D levels for the old heads, you know, that care about that, you had levels that, like, it wasn't just like, you know, here's some 2D levels and 3D levels for a modern era. It's like, let's go through all our history, you know, right? And let's realize like Green Hill Zone, but in 3D. What would that be like? You know, Chemical Plant Zone, seeing how that would be like in 3D, right? And then seeing how classic Sonic would play in a level like City Escape. All that shit was super impressive and super notable. They even released in that same year the 3DS version of Sonic Generations, which is a completely different game. I mean, the entire game is in 2D, right? It acts as a pseudo rush game with the boost. It has different levels like Water Palace. It has the Mushroom Hill Zone from Sonic 3, right? It's got different bosses in it. So really good shit. I mean, overall, if you want to count just those two big releases alone, that is huge right there. And we also had the release of Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, which, dude, to this day, people call the best Olympic game, right? You have that beautiful yellow box art for the Wii at the time, which was so cool when you got that package, but you also had the best array of Olympic Games in there. The roster was amazing. The dream events in London 2012 was fucking awesome. Like, overall, man, I think they genuinely cooked for 2011, right, in terms of releases. And that's not all. The other notable release, you know, 2011 is the time of the iPods and iPhones starting to emerge, and they ported Sonic CD to mobile. Now, if I remember correctly, right, this release was a big deal, you know, because a lot of people had not played CD in a long time. This is probably also one of the best reviewed games for Sonic on Steam. I think on Steam, on Metacritic, it's got like an 85 plus, so really happy about that, right? And honestly, looking back, like 4 of those releases alone, that makes for probably the most consistent, well-made anniversary. You get 2 Generations games, right, which are super, you know, well-regarded. You got the London Olympic Games, which are super fun. You got a nice re-release of Sonic CD, and then it doesn't even end there. So this is something completely random you've probably never heard of. There is something that released in Australia called the Sonic Anniversary PC Pack, and this game with basically PC ports or old ports of games like Sonic Riders, Heroes, DX, and I think the Gems collection. And this is such a weird thing to exist, right? It came with like a Sonic mouse and a Sonic mouse pad. It's hella random. There's barely any info about this game except that it exists. But yeah, that's something they released in 2011, which I guess is kind of cool. Funny enough, they also released a Sonic 20th Anniversary app on the App Store, which actually had 2 games in it. It had a light version of Sonic 4, because I guess that was going to be the demo for the game, and you could have a trial period where you could try it out. And it also had a little game that you actually might know remnants of today called Sonic the Sketchhog, which you guys know that little Sketchhog Sonic design you guys see in some of the games or some of the promotional material. That actually had a little fun 2D side scroller that was in the app, and also you had access to some wallpapers in it. So it was like at that time where like everything needed to have an app. I mean, to this day apps still do that, but yeah, they want to celebrate, they want to have an app out there. So that was another cool release. And I discovered this while doing my research. Apparently there was an app in Japan that they released during this anniversary called Sonic Tweet, right? So I'm reading this description, right? The app is accessed through Twitter. The application comes off as a game where the player must help Sonic defeat Eggman. The game, which requires the player to follow Sonic Twitter Japan and authorizes it to be available to read the player's tweets, is a minigame that allows the players to tweet Sonic Tweet as part of the message. Certain words on the message will make Sonic use a dash to attack Eggman. Defeating Eggman will reward player with 1 out of 500 cards that can be collected. And this is fucking weird as shit, right? Because there's barely any footage of this thing, and it's so random. In terms of merchandise, you have your usual suspects. You have your toys. There was a toy line released by Jazzwares. There was the Sonic Wii Remote charger, because, you know, I guess the Wii was still popping up. Weird time to release a Sonic Wii Remote charger. You know, you had Crane prizes at SEGA prizes. You had a 20th anniversary statue made by First Four Figures, because this is notable. This is when Sonic was starting to get involved a lot more with First Four Figures. You had a Sonic Nendoroid release, which I think to this day they haven't made another Sonic, but they made a Shadow one recently, funny enough, that I actually got. But yeah, the Sonic Nendoroid has been around for like a long time. Another notable release during this anniversary were Sonic music albums, right? This is the time where streaming services, you know, stuff like the iTunes store and all these stores were starting to become a thing, and they started selling digital versions of these soundtracks. You had Sonic Hedgehog 1 and 2 soundtrack, 20 years of Sonic music as a soundtrack, the history of Sonic music, 20th anniversary edition, Adventure soundtrack, Adventure 2. Like, they started to finally release their OSTs on digital platforms. Like I said, I think this is before streaming services like your Spotify's and your Apple Musics, but it was at the time where iTunes Store was a thing, or Google Play was a thing. You could just buy digital albums. So that was a really cool thing. There was a Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade Sonic balloon. There was Summer of Sonic that continued. And there's this one channel called Shadow Digital Entertainment that released a documentary called History of Sonic, The Birth of an Icon, celebrating 20 years. I guess they got a bunch of interviews with some old Sonic designers and stuff. So really cool. I guess, honestly, now that we've looked back at this, overall, I think the 20th anniversary is as successful as you get, right? Because like I said, sometimes at these anniversaries, you see some bad moves that were done just to capitalize. But this year, you know, you got finally music releases of a lot of the classic songs. You had Sonic Generations, which quite literally celebrates the entire series. You had some fun mobile ports. You know, you had a Sonic in London at the Olympic Games as a fun spin-off. Like, to me, that's as good as it gets. You get a banger mainline game, you get a banger spin-off, you get some good merch and things to get. And overall, like, just a good vibe and good feel at a time where Sonic really needed a huge win, and it felt like Generations and what they were doing was a huge win. And then we have the Sonic the Hedgehog 25th anniversary. I guess this would have taken place, what, in am I dumb? This would be 2016, right? And oh man, this one is definitely something really, really different. So let's get right into it. The contents of the celebration. First release. Oh god, bro, this year is crazy. This isn't 20. This is 20. Did they cut? No. Okay. So here's what they did with this year. I remember it now, right? They considered Mania and Forces anniversary releases that came out the year after. They did this weird thing for the 25th anniversary where, like, the things they were celebrating came out later. And I'm gonna get ahead of myself. Let's start with the logo of the 25th anniversary. Actually taking the advice that I gave last time about putting the text on the bottom and having Sonic in the middle. Pretty good. I will say my one problem is, like, there's two blocks of text. There's like 20th anniversary as a block of text, and then Sonic the Hedgehog as a block of text. I would have removed, you know, one of those. Again, I really don't think you need the word Sonic the Hedgehog in the logo if, like, you have Sonic in the logo and the point still stands, right? But really, you know, pretty nice logo. I still think to this, you know, as we've gone back through this, the 15th anniversary logo is still my favorite. It actually says here, funny enough, in the wiki for that, variations of the 25th anniversary were celebrated for other characters until 2019, including Tails' anniversary for Sonic 2, Amy and Metal's Sonic anniversary for Sonic CD, and Knuckles for Sonic 3. So it's weird how they stretched out the 20th anniversary, but let's start with the first and notable release of that time, which is Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. This game sucks. I mean, I've said this before, like, this, of the Olympic Games, this is the first one I played where I was like, wow, bro, that was a whole lot of nothing. I mean, I think both Wii U Olympic Games are kind of whatever, but this is the most, like, nothing content of them all. I mean, it has, the only thing that's going for it is those victory animations between characters that you always see blow up on social media from this game. But besides that, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's just, has to, like, another Olympics. There's nothing notable about it. It's just, there's, you know, an anniversary game for you, cool. There was the Lego Dimensions Sonic pack that released for the 25th anniversary. And honestly, that one is really fun. I actually played that a month ago, and I had a good time with it. You know, you go ahead, you break some Lego pieces. You know, you go through some of the Sonic worlds. You get a lot of references, right? You got Eggman in there. You get Sonic, you got Tails, you got Shadow. You got a fun open hub zone. You got a good way of speed. It's a fun little side thing, and like a perfect little thing you would do for an anniversary. You know, just be like, hey, here's a fun side project, and I think it harmed nobody. Oh, and of course, how could we forget, during the anniversary time, the release of Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. Oh man, whoa, bro, 3 for 3 on not mainline releases. I mean, 3DS version of Sonic Boom, cool. I mean, I know this one is like a little less bad than the Wii U one, but it didn't help that the reception at that point for Sonic Boom was just not good, you know. And so I feel like at this point this is the most lackluster anniversary we've had so far. This 25th anniversary sucks, right? You also have Sonic Dash with a classic Sonic and Green Hill Zone event that was going on. And then, so this is where the weird technicality we get to for the first time. So they considered Mania and Forces part of the branding of the 25th anniversary. I believe they had an event where they announced them there, you know, obviously most notably how bad that live event was, but they announced Mania and Forces at least on the 25th anniversary. And honestly, as two major announcements, that was hype. I mean, how do you celebrate the 25th anniversary better than announcing a new mainline 2D game and a new mainline 3D game? And obviously, you had those games come out a year later, but, you know, we all know how Mania turned out. Pretty fantastic stuff overall. One of the best 2D Sonic games in the series. If anything, I would consider Mania the celebration game of 2D Sonic, right? Because obviously that game goes to the past of Sonic, goes to the future, right? You know, it does some new levels. Like, Mania is obviously a 10 out of 10 way to celebrate. And then you have Forces, which for some reason they count Forces as a celebration game. Thankfully, they delayed it by having it come out the year later, but that didn't help, right? I mean, that didn't help at all for the case of Sonic Forces. We all know how that turned out. And if you want to talk about a game that's an anniversary game that didn't rush itself out to be released that year, I mean, good on them, but still, it's Sonic Forces. In terms of merch, we have our usual suspects. We have toys by Tommy for the 25th anniversary. We had a Sonic the Hedgehog X Sanrio toys, which released for Sonic the Hedgehog, which was really cool. You had a classic Sonic diorama by First Four Figures, which looked really cool. You had a classic Sonic statue by SEGA Prize, which is super dope. You got blind box toys by Kid Robot, which released. Plush toys by Build-A-Bear to release to celebrate Sonic the Hedgehog. You had various merch at the SEGA shops. You had a Sonic 25th anniversary art book, which I actually remember getting that at the time and loving it. I mean, I think I have it. I still own it to this day. And that book has a lot of cool sketches, a lot of good art. I love that one so much. There's also a Sonic 25th anniversary cafe collection album, which basically just put a bunch of, you know, songs. You could win it in a raffle in Japan, but that was really it. And then was there another one? There was, yeah, I guess there was more songs released digitally. There was a Sonic 25th anniversary selection, which is a compilation album containing, you know, music from across the series. There was two comics that came out by Tyson S. And a few other artists called Sonic Mega Drive, which I actually own. I have them in my jar. Really pretty art, just celebrating classic Sonic with some stuff. But other than that, that's really it. And I gotta say, man, coming off of that 20th anniversary, which was like a banger that really felt like a celebration of the series, this is such an incredibly mixed bag. Like I said, I mean, you have the Olympic Games, which was a booty release. You got Lego Dimensions, which is fun. Sonic Boom, which is whatever. Dash event, okay. And then Mania is peak, but Forces is ass. So you just have, and even like the fact that they even like drawn out that celebration, you know, throughout a year later with Mania and Forces, it felt like an anniversary that just wasn't, the series wasn't ready for, wasn't prepared for, was going through a lot of shifts at the time, and overall just was not worth the celebration. And then most notably, we had now 4 years ago, which is crazy to think about, the Sonic the Hedgehog 30th anniversary. I actually remember this one vividly because I guess it was the first time that I full-time covered an anniversary. I gotta say, this logo, probably my favorite. It listened to every piece of feedback I've been giving throughout this video, which it has Sonic and the text on the bottom. That is all you need. I love how the circle in the 30 acts is, you know, Sonic, you know, running, right? You have a cool look. It has this color scheme. Love that. It's missing a little bit of yellow, right? Just that Sonic hint of yellow. It keeps the blue and red. You know, just for the buckle, it would have been nice to have the yellow. But besides that, fantastic logo. Now, if I remember correctly, they actually revealed the logo for the 30th anniversary a year before the 30th anniversary. So probably by this summer, they will reveal the logo for the 35th anniversary of the series, and they'll probably announce their plans later this year. But regardless, 30th anniversary is a huge deal. I mean, this is where you go all out, right? I feel like we talk about this. The anniversaries where it's between years, like the 15th or the 20 or like the 25th or 35th series, are always like a weird anniversary to celebrate. The big ones are like the milestones, and 30 years of Sonic felt like a milestone, but at the same time, right, the series was still developing frontiers at the time. And also, keep in mind, this is happening a year after COVID, right? The world is still recovering and changing and everything. So some of the plans they probably had couldn't fully go through. Let's talk about the celebration content that they had planned for the anniversary. So first of all, Sonic Dash got Pirate Sonic and Captain Shadow. So if you like One Piece, cool. Sonic Forces Speed Battle still going strong. They had a Super Sonic event. Cool, right? And then you had what was this random release called SEGA Streaming Theater Sonic Edition, which is like a game that was playable specifically for VTubers to participate in. It's a weird release, nothing for like most people to really enjoy. But the most notable reveal and release during the 30th anniversary was Sonic Colors Ultimate, right? Finally, after what, 10 plus years of being stranded on the Wii, even longer, maybe 13 years, this game finally got a re-release. Remember, this game was never available on any platforms except the Wii, so it was a big deal that they were re-releasing it. Now, how the launch ended up turning out, not necessarily the greatest thing humanity's ever seen, right? You know, they gave the port to a studio called Blind Squirrel Games, which didn't end up doing an amazing job at it, right? So the fan reception was pretty mediocre. I think it sold decently well, you know, because for the average person, it's just Sonic Colors. Even for me, like as someone who is in these trenches, unless the internet told me it was awful, I would have been like, that was a cool port of Sonic Colors. And like I said, they could have done a bit more effort into it, right? Especially looking now at how we have something like Sonic Shadow Gens. I think they learned from Colors Ultimate what not to do. But for the most part, I mean, this was just Sonic Colors. You had some extra bells and whistles with the changeable gloves and shoes, right? You had the race against Metal Sonic available in it. So while it's not necessarily an anniversary celebration type game, it's kind of cool to get a game that was never re-released outside of the Wii available now. This the mobile Sonic racing game got an update for Classic Sonic, but the other two things about the 30th anniversary were the two major reveals, and the major reveals being Sonic Origins, which was, you know, touted to be the best definitive way to play these classic Sonic games, right? Sonic 1, 2, 3, Knuckles and everything. And then it was kind of gone for a long time, right? It wasn't until like, I think, early the year after where it was re-revealed and then ended up releasing. I think it released on Sonic's birthday. I could be wrong about it, but they revealed that game during the anniversary, which that's not an anniversary game, but I guess it's a cool reveal, right? And of course, they launched the teaser trailer of Sonic Frontiers. They wasn't called Sonic Frontiers at the time. It was just like, you know, a new Sonic thing is coming. Some people were trying to figure out what it was, right? And we just got that little teaser where he did the side loop, and that was really it. So, oof, I mean, again, 30th anniversary, like I said, I do think that this anniversary suffered from the fact that COVID happened. They probably wanted Origins to release that year alongside with Colors Ultimate, because Colors Ultimate and Origins would have both been like re-releases celebrating 3D and 2D, but yeah, nothing too crazy in that regard, but they did do a shit ton of video game collaborations. There's a whole list of game collabs they have here. So they did a collab with Chain Chronicle. They did a collab with Fist of the North Star. They did Sonic the Fighters available in Lost Judgment. There was the Minecraft Sonic the Hedgehog DLC. There was the Hive X Sonic the Hedgehog, which is another thingy that they added in there. There was I guess the Tokyo Olympic Games 2020 mascot costume for Sonic. Fantasy Online 2 celebrated Sonic. SMT on mobile celebrated Sonic the Hedgehog. You had a Spirit Board event in Smash Ultimate for Sonic. You had Sonic playable in Banana Mania at the time. You had 2 Point Hospital with a Sonic pack. You had Cookie Run Kingdom with a Sonic collaboration. You had Fall Guys with Sonic costumes, and even Monster Hunter Rise. So if there's one thing that I gotta say this 30th anniversary at least went all in on, is pushing Sonic's name to other brands and other things. And like I said, I do appreciate that they didn't just rush out games. Like I said, they could have tried to rush out Frontiers for this anniversary. They could have tried to rush out Origins and have these games kind of be bare minimum and whatever, and have it be the ultimate celebration of this franchise, but I do like that they took the steps to be like, you know what? We gotta resist releasing these games. We can't release them in this state. They did it with Sonic Colors though, so that's beyond that point. But they really did go all out in their way, at least to do some 30th anniversary celebrations. There was a shit ton of merchandise too. You got Pop Funkos with it. You got the King Ice Sonic jewelry at the time. You have G Fuel Sonic energy drinks. You had the Sonic Encyclopedia, which I think to this day is like the best way to get all the Sonic information. I have that one available to me. You have wristwatches by Psycho. You got plush toys, home decoration, everything. They really went all in on everything under the sun for the 30th anniversary. There's even a bunch of celebration 30th anniversary comics that they did with IDW, celebrating a bunch of the different series in their classic form with some really good art form. They had the Sonic Colors Rise of Wisps, which is like that little animated series they launched to celebrate the release of Sonic Colors, which that one was really fun. And of course, most notably, right, we had the Sonic Symphony Digital Edition, which anybody that, you know, is part of the Sonic fandom or even part of this channel knows that event was so near and dear to my heart. That's how a lot of people discovered me, and people still go back and watch that Symphony reaction to this day. That was probably the best way they celebrated the series. So I'm not gonna lie to you, right? Overall, right, the games they put out were not that bad, even though there wasn't many of them, right? And I think they went for more brand recognition for this anniversary, you know, with the Symphony, with the merchandise, with the collabs, with the comics. Like, I feel like they did do a really good job. They even had this trailer called Unstoppable, which was this like 30th anniversary commercial that, you know, said like, you know, never stop running, always believe in yourself, all this stuff. And they were sort of pushing for the future of the series. So I actually think for the 30th anniversary, they did a pretty good job celebrating the series without just putting stuff out just for the sake of it. And that's all the anniversaries to this day. I do think looking back now, right, if we were to really think about bar for bar, what's the best one? I think the 20th anniversary is still the best one, right? Just because, you know, you had Sonic Gens in there, you had the London game, you had Sonic CDs released. You did a pretty good job, and you had a good, you know, level of merch and stuff. But the 30th anniversary, I still think is pretty great for celebrating stuff. You guys obviously can let me know in the comment section below what your favorite Sonic celebration is from the ones we've talked about. And of course, next year, Sonic 35th anniversary, which I do think they're also going to do a lot of work with, right? I think, you know, with this year, we're getting Sonic Racing. We don't know what's next. Potentially, we could be getting a Heroes remake that's rumored or some other re-release. That's what I think. I think this year, we're going to get Sonic Racing Crossroads, and we're going to get probably another remaster or re-release. And they're saving the big stuff for the 35th anniversary this year, and that will be most likely the next 3D Sonic game, because at that point, Sonic Frontiers will be 4 years old, which is more than enough time for them to have made brand new Sonic game, and then maybe probably another 2D game, which would also be huge. And obviously, they're going to go all in on merch and other stuff. But guys, thank y'all for watching. Let me know what you guys think about Sonic Anniversary celebrations. What's your favorite? What's your favorite release? And of course, I love you. Thank y'all for watching. And of course, I will see you all next time. Peace out. Woo!